December 7, 1941. Pearl Harbor marked a turning point for Chinese with close ties to China. For more than 4 years, Japan and China had been entangled in the Second Sino-Japanese War. Japanese forces were trying politically and militarily to dominate China. The paper sons in America could no longer return to China safely. They listened and waited for news, unsure about their families' futures. After the Japanese Navy bombed Pearl Harbor, the U.S. and China became allies against Japan. Interests aligned, Chinese immigrants now had a compelling reason to help the war effort in America. My grandfather was no exception. He and his friends wanted to do their part to protect their families, wives, and home country.
He said that when they heard about Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, he was playing Mahjong. And when they heard about Pearl Harbor, he jumped up and ran to the draft office or wherever, and he enlisted.
Some Chinese men and women chose to wait for their draft number to be called. Others volunteered. In total, the U.S. government had about 13,000 Chinese American soldiers to assign, and until 1948, it was preferred that they serve in segregated units.
Here we have to intertwine the histories of African Americans and Americans of Chinese descent. Both of them were considered to be poor fighters, despite large evidence to the contrary. Racial mores accepted not only by poor whites but also by the highest levels of American government meant that segregation was practiced in the armed forces.
Chinese soldiers had different opinions of this segregation. Some felt indifferent, others took offense.
I was glad that I was in the segregated unit because the people knew our culture and our past, but the fact that I was in the Army and we had segregated units really upset me. It's like the Japanese and the Negroes, they were all separated from the normal stream of Army outfits, and that really bothered me.
Where you stood depended on how you had been treated in America. If you had experienced frequent discrimination, you were happier to serve with familiar faces.
I like it better because if I was in an American outfit and I was really pick a point because I was, Chinese background. Discrimination is always with us. It's more so when I first went in.
The largest group of segregated Chinese American units was the 14th Air Service Group. It comprised 9 units. Ultimately, the government could not distinguish between the paper sons and the Chinese Americans, so there was a mix of both in each unit. Altogether, there were over 3,000 men in the 14th Air Service Group. All higher officers were Caucasian.
We all came from all walks of life. There was the students just like I. There were even Chinese professors, restaurateurs, grocery man, laundry man, and other college students. We were all intermixed. We were all Chinese from all 48 states at that time.
All the units under the 14th Air Service Group assisted the Flying Tigers, a group of American pilot volunteers now legendary for their daring work in the skies against the Japanese. The 14th Air Service Group was one of many created to aid the American Army Air Force pilots. It is still under debate why the 14th Air Service Group came to be. In 1944, all Chinese units except for one were assigned to the 14th Air Service Group. The work of the 14th Air Service Group did not require special skills. So why not mobilize non-Chinese units for these same duties? Some speculate that General Chennault of the Flying Tigers made a special request for such a group. American soldiers who spoke Chinese could serve as liaisons between the Chinese and American forces. But not all the units of the 14th Air Service Group had daily contact with the Chinese forces. Moreover, many of the soldiers in the group did not speak English well. What use, then, is a native Chinese-speaking unit to the American side? What's more, the soldiers usually did not speak the same dialect as the local Chinese, so they were of little use as interpreters. Others speculated that Chiang Kai-shek, the nationalist Chinese generalissimo, and the U.S. government wanted to use the all-Chinese units in China as a propaganda tool. Still others wondered if it was a way for the army to group the Chinese together and keep them apart from non-Chinese units. My grandfather served with the 1157th Signal Company. The 1157 was the first unit of the 14th Air Service Group sent overseas to China. Through a year of training, my grandfather was transformed from a laundryman into a radio repairman.